All right, let's dive right in. We're tackling a huge question today. In a world that's being completely reshaped by AI, how do we get our kids ready? We're going to explore a pretty fascinating new model that's designed to do exactly that. So, let's get into it.
So, let's start with the central challenge, the question on everyone's mind. As artificial intelligence gets smarter and smarter, what abilities should we actually be nurturing in our kids so they can thrive? Because let's be honest, the old answers just aren't cutting it anymore.
Okay, look at this. This slide really shows the massive shift we're living through. For generations, school was all about the stuff on the left, right? Memorizing facts, recognizing patterns, crunching data. But here's the thing. AI now does all of that better and faster than we can. And what that means, and this is the crucial point, is that the skills on the right, our uniquely human strengths, have become more valuable than they have ever been.
And that brings us to the new reality for our kids. I mean, think about it. They're the first generation to grow up as true natives in an AI-powered world. And while that's amazing in some ways, giving them incredible access to information, it's also creating a whole new kind of problem.
Here's the issue. A lot of our education systems are kind of stuck in the past. They're still measuring kids on these old performance metrics, things that, like we just saw, AI can now handle with ease. And it's really hard for these big systems to turn on a dime. So what you get is this relevance gap, where the things we're measuring in school aren't actually the things that are going to matter for their future success and, their well-being.
So, how in the world do we bridge that gap? Well, that brings us to a new philosophy that's designed specifically for this challenge. It's called the AICI framework, which stands for AI and Creative Intelligence. This right here, this is the core idea. It's not about rejecting technology at all. It's about being really intentional with it. AI is an incredibly powerful external tool, but our focus has to be on consciously cultivating our internal human capacities.
And that's where this concept of creative intelligence comes in. Now, this isn't just about being good at painting or music. It's way bigger than that. It's the full integration of our core human skills. Our ability to understand our emotions, to feel compassion, to communicate clearly and consciously, and to express our own unique ideas.
And here's how that breaks down. These are the 5 pillars of the AICI framework, and you can see it's laid out like a journey. It starts with AI awareness. You got to understand the tool. But then it immediately moves inward to build compassion and clarity. Once you have that foundation, it enables more conscious communication, which is what finally unlocks real, authentic creativity.
Okay, so that's the philosophy. It sounds great in theory, but how does it actually work in practice? Let's take a look inside a real-world mentorship program that uses this philosophy, and it's called the Human Lab. Now, that name, Human Lab, is so important. Unlike the traditional classroom that's all about grades and test scores, this is an environment designed to actually observe and understand a child's whole development. The focus isn't on numbers, but on qualitative insights, the how and why behind their growth.
So what does that actually look like? Well, the mentors are watching for things like a child's confidence growing, their ability to name their own emotions, the way they express their creative ideas, and, this is a big one, their fear of making mistakes. It's all about nurturing the process, not just judging the final product.
Okay, now you're going to see a single number on the screen. And believe it or not, this one number is absolutely core to how this whole model works. So, what's so important about the number 5?
Because the entire program is built on this principle. Every single group is limited to just 5 kids. This isn't about scaling up in the traditional sense. It's about going deep. It's what ensures that the mentorship is incredibly personal and that every single child really has the space to be seen and heard.
The program itself runs for 12 weeks, and it has this really cool weekly rhythm. On Monday, they have a 60-minute session that's all about play-based learning, getting hands-on, doing creative stuff. Then on Friday, there's a much shorter 20-minute session that's just for reflection and guided discussion, which helps them process everything they've learned and experienced.
And here's just a little peek at some of the themes they cover. Of course, you've got creativity and communication, but look at the other ones, knowing the inside world and screen awareness without hatred. How incredibly relevant is that for the challenges our kids are facing right now?
Okay, so we've got the philosophy and we've got the structure, but what's the end game here? What is the ultimate goal? Let's connect all these dots to the intended impact and why this model really matters for building kids who are truly ready for the future. This slide just lays out the payoff so beautifully. In the short term, you see these immediate benefits, right? Kids get more confident, they get better at expressing their feelings.
But those are just the seeds. The real magic is how they grow into these huge long-term skills. That reduced fear of mistakes, that becomes adaptive thinking. That increased confidence, it builds emotional resilience. And that early awareness around screens blossoms into a much healthier relationship with technology for life.
And really, it all boils down to this one powerful idea. The goal isn't just to make kids AI-proof. It's to create a model for development that embraces the future without sacrificing the most essential parts of being human: our curiosity, our creativity, and our connection with each other.
So I'll just leave you with this to think about. As we all try to navigate this new era, this is the fundamental question we have to ask ourselves, because our answer to this is going to define not just the next curriculum, but the next generation. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.